It has been a significant week in history, one I don't think we'll forget for many, many years. However, Disney announced a whole bunch of new things, both good and bad, at D23. Oh, and this just in, Jeannine.
Pinocchio sucks.
Apparently it does. Welcome to the madness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. What a crazy week, Jeannine.
Yes. Did you like my RKO radio pictures?
I did. RKO Radio Pictures presents Monday Madness. It is exactly what RKO Radio Pictures does. We love RKO Radio Pictures. You'll have to forgive my voice. I think I've got a bit of a sore throat for the past couple of days, but I'll push on through. It's not too bad, but it might be a bit hoarse and raspy.
Oh, well, I'll probably be sounding not so great either, as this weather. As you can see, I'm not in my usual space.
No.
Because,
Fun, exciting things for Jeannine, of which we will get into.
But yes, the weather where I am at is ridiculous. It is completely hot, and then it just rained all evening.
Bizarre.
Yes.
Weather's bizarre. The world's ending. Craziness is happening. It's going to be a Disney and horror-filled episode today, I think, isn't it?
I think that's an interesting combination.
It is an interesting combination. And you would think that Pinocchio falls into that category pretty well, but apparently not, Jeannine. Apparently not. We'll get into all that because I suppose we would be silly to not discuss a little bit of the incredibly significant news we got this past week, which was that Queen Elizabeth passed away at 96 years old, which has prompted Twitter to burn.
Yeah, and
again,
what's happening over
usual.
there? How is
I'll be honest with you, it feels quite surreal in a weird way. And look, I'm not a huge royalist or anything like that, nor am I a huge anarchist. You know,
Yeah.
They are there and they do some terrible things generally.
But it's just weird that they're not there because they're always just there,
Well, exactly.
Not there.
Exactly, it is, but it's kind of the whole country, really, more so than individual to individual, just the kind of country has turned very somber in the past kind of few days, because it was Thursday when she passed away, and like there was, there's been nothing but kind of rolling news on and all that. We have a new king now, King Charles III, who gave a speech on Friday evening, to the nation, or to the nation, to the world, that I did kind of, I got a notification on my phone and stopped what I was watching and kind of turned over and put that on, just because, it's not, you're not going to see these kind of things again. I feel the kind of heaviness of what's going on from a historical point. I won't forget what I was doing when I found out she died, because I was driving to watch United play football, which did, continue to go ahead. However, there was no football this weekend. I don't think there's going to be any next weekend, which is weird because all the other sports are doing. It's been left up to like individual governing bodies and businesses on what they do.
Okay.
It's really like a thing. I don't think television's allowed to like program comedy shows or anything like that
Yeah, didn't you
until
say it's
7
like
days after the funeral. It's
didn't
really
you say something about 12 days of mourning or something like
yeah.
that?
Yeah, so it's national. We're in a national mourning period.
Oh, goodness.
That's why I'm wearing dark clothes. It's not really.
Oh.
I'm just wearing dark clothes because I am wearing dark clothes. But no, it's really it is really strange. It is really strange.
Yeah.
It's weird as well because when the news came in and I was driving to watch football, I was driving with both my dad and my brother, and it was actually the first time we'd ever been to Old Trafford to a United game, a competitive United game, all three of us, because we've only ever had 2 season tickets. We've been season ticket holders for years,
Yeah.
but we've only ever had 2, and we've kind of shared and swapped and changed who goes.
Yeah.
But because of some weird rule with the European games, because it was a European game, you can kind of opt out of certain competitions and things like that. And my brother ended up getting a ticket that was for the seat literally in front of us.
Are you serious? Because yeah, you have your, like, reserved seats
Yeah.
yeah.
We've had for years. You know,
Yeah.
I've been going for 15 years. My dad's been going for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's insane. But so it was actually the first
That's
game
funny.
that all three of us
We're together, yeah.
attended together was the day of the Queen's death.
Yeah, so
It's really
definitely
weird.
something to to help, like, to make you really kind of remember that, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, and my sign says history is here because that is a
That's a
massively
big thing,
significant
yeah.
piece of
Also, just
history, you know.
the
70
fact that
years,
yeah, she lived through so many, like, world-changing events, and yeah, it's crazy
96 years
how much
old,
the world
70 years
changed. Yeah.
as queen, and you know whether you are like the monarchy, whether you hate the monarchy, whether you are kind of like me and like it from a historical point of view, not necessarily from a monetary point of view.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I like old castles and things, and without people like this, you don't have that level of history. And
Yeah.
I like it from that point of view. But they are shady people sometimes. We
Yeah.
can't avoid that, definitely. Um, So think what you will. I don't want to have any arguments with people. I'm in no position to have any arguments with people because I don't really feel too strongly either way. But
Definitely
it
worth
is
mentioning,
significant. It is
discussing. Yeah.
significant for
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, King Charles III now.
Wow, that's so
So
crazy. It's crazy to think
I mean,
about.
he's 73, so I don't think we've got overly long time left
Him.
of him before it'll be William.
William, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a little bit crazy, and everything kind of stopped whether you are into, you know, the royals or not. And I always think that Americans are far more into the British royal family than British people are anyway,
Yeah.
from news reasons and that kind of stuff.
Because it's just fascinating, like, we don't have that kind of concept, so it's just like, what do these
No,
people even do? Like, what what
nothing.
is
That's the point.
it? Yeah.
That's the problem. That's why people have a problem. They don't, you know, they don't seem to do much.
Yeah.
They are very much figureheads that take a lot of money.
Yeah. Well,
And
because yeah, I mean, my UK family had a very similar reaction to yours. They were just like, "Oh, no, no, there's no one
it's
to
like, no,
drive
that's
around in the
significant.
gold carriages and then
Yeah,
wear the jewels."
yeah. But like people are really serious about it. People love it.
Yeah.
People absolutely love it. There was these television pictures of people stood outside Buckingham Palace when obviously Charles came back down. He's shaking hands with absolutely everybody.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody's like kissing his hands and things like this,
Yeah.
and it's all a bit intense, really.
Yeah.
But the fact is, we are now in King Charles III's time.
Okay, his reign.
But his coronation won't be until next year because you're not allowed to have it in the same year.
Okay.
So because it'll be like Elizabeth will be 1953 to 2022.
Yeah.
Charles will have to be 2023.
Okay.
So if Charles dies in the next year, I mean, I don't know what goes on.
He's not gonna make it. Yeah.
I've no idea. It's all gonna be because he won't have officially been.
Yeah. Anything.
Coronated.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyway, that happened. That happened, didn't it?
History is here.
I'm not here crying or anything like that. It didn't hit me as hard as Sidney Poitier's death did earlier this year.
I know.
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But it's significant. It's very, very significant. But yes, to switch the tone entirely now, Jeannine, I think your ears tell the story of what the What's Up's going to be mainly focused on.
Yes. D23 was this past weekend. As of recording this, it is still happening, and I am here. I am there. I was there.
Yeah, so we haven't heard any Marvel stuff, so calm down, everyone.
Yes, which I am actually going to be there. So we're not going to have any scoops. I'll give you we can just discuss it when everyone else finds out, but I will know before everyone else.
Well, you could
not there.
You could do the instant reaction on Twitter and all this business that
I could.
People do.
I could do the things. But yeah, so I will be doing that this weekend, and I'm very excited. So so sorry we don't have any Marvel news. You'll get it as it comes.
No, but we have Disney Studios news.
So as of right now, the recording of this is the first day of D23 that I went to. So we got some new movies, Inside Out 2, Haunted
Jannine's
Mansion.
not looking forward to Inside Out 2. Janine hates
I mean, I've come around onto like not hating it, but
no, you haven't.
No, I don't hate it, but it is very just, and I like people think I don't like it because I don't understand like what it's trying to do. But it is just very terrible to watch how it's illustrated with sadness, just touching everything and torturing this little girl. Like I can't.
It's accurate.
Yes. See, don't be those people. I just said that.
I am being those people.
I just said I understand. I understand the concept. You don't need to explain it to me, but seeing it illustrated like that is just annoying. Phyllis touching everything and torturing this little girl. But I get that that's how emotions work. Like you have no control over when you're sad and when you're happy and blah blah whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just
I
looks
don't mind
like
the idea.
Yes, but it's just a whole hour of sadness being annoying. Just I can't stand it. But yes, the concept, I think it's a great concept overall. I don't hate the movie. It's just that whole first hour is just very infuriating.
Yes, and of course that does make total sense. And I don't hate the idea of Inside Out 2, really. I mean, I know Pixar is in a weird place these days because you don't know whether it's a theatrical movie, a Disney Plus movie. You don't know what's a real Pixar movie anymore, and what's kind of is this a real movie? Are streaming movies real movies? The debate. I a little bit stand with Scorsese when it comes to that and say, put it in the cinema or I don't consider it a real movie.
Well, I think I want to say the Enchanted sequel.
Oh yeah, we also got that.
It's said, I think it said it's just going to be coming to streaming. So
I mean, I just feel like movies get lost when they go on to streaming.
Yeah, I mean,
quickly.
there was definitely a reason for streaming because, COVID and theaters and all
Of
of that.
course.
But, people are back at the movies. Movies are doing well. Theaters are thriving again. So, I don't mind the dual concept, like the releasing in theaters and at home. But I think the best bet is probably to, release it in theaters and then, you can have a quicker turnaround than we used to have getting it on streaming.
Yeah, because I mean that's what we've seen really anyway, isn't it? I mean, look at,
Yeah.
you know, particularly with Disney Plus, and I'm just going off kind of the
Peacock
like
does
the
it.
MCU stuff.
Peacock, that's kind of Peacock's thing.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones who did the Halloween Kills day of in theater or at home.
Ah, okay. No, I like
Black
that. I like
Black
that. I mean, like
Phone the Black Phone was in theaters for, like, a decent run, like, a couple weeks, and then then they put it
ah,
on Peacock while it was still in theaters. Same with
okay.
Scream 5.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't mind that, because then if you get the choice then. Give me the choice.
Yeah,
The
like Prey
choices.
was an
Yeah, I like
excellent
that.
movie that definitely deserved a theatrical release, and so the fact that they just put it on Hulu,
Yeah.
and the fact that it was kind of important in terms of representation. Um,
Yeah. But fortunately, I think with Prey, it got that much good press that it didn't get lost. But
yes.
countless others have that are probably as good
Yeah,
as
so
Prey,
many
you know?
movies that with big actors, and like we've never even seen it or heard of it because it just gets filed away with billions of things that get streamed. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think I saw the trailer for the new Disenchanted, and I think it looks fun and
I
seems
mean, I
like
have no concept of enchanted, so
so definitely gonna find a way to work that into a Morgan Hasn't Seen series. So if you guys have any ideas, maybe Disney live action or something.
I know it's the
Um,
it's the Amy Adams princess movie.
Yes.
I
Which is
know that.
it's but it's a really kind of meta, kind of fun
Yeah.
look at it. So, yeah, definitely gonna try to find a way to work that into a Morgan Hasn't Seen series. But yeah, I really loved Enchanted. I think we were really, excited to see these characters again. So I think it'll do well on streaming. But
Well,
I
I
think
think is with I suppose Disney Plus is I don't know. I don't know. The straight to streaming, I just feel for movies, you need to still push it. You need to still advertise it, market
yeah.
it. And
So
I
yeah.
just feel like it's maybe it's just me and maybe it's just what I look at, but it seems more obvious to me when a movie's coming out in the cinema than when it's coming out on streaming. Like I'm never quite sure when a streaming movie's coming out. Like we said in the intro, Pinocchio's out. And like didn't last week we talk about the trailer for Pinocchio? Like
Yeah.
why is that such a
Yeah, I
quick
didn't even know if
turnaround?
it was that it was
I
gonna be
I
released
assumed
already.
that
Yeah.
was gonna be like a November movie or something like that.
Yeah,
Why is
no.
it out the week after? That just seems a little bit weird to me. And
Yeah.
forgive me, but isn't that gonna be the same thing with the Glass Onion, the Knives Out movie? Isn't that, like, coming, like,
Yeah, I think it's
really
just going
soon?
yeah, I think it's going straight to Netflix fairly soon after this trailer just came out,
That's what I mean,
which,
like, this is the first thing we've really seen of it. Like, give it, like, a couple of months. This is what trailers
keep
do,
it
isn't it?
up. Yeah.
I'm a bit I'm a bit I just get a bit weirded out by straight to streaming marketing strategy almost
Yeah.
with the movies. With the TV it's fine because the TV's TV and that's where TV is. You don't
Yeah, but if
go
you're
out
doing
to
a
watch
movie
TV.
and it's a movie that looks like it has a hefty budget behind it, like a movie that you would see in a theater, but you're releasing it straight to streaming, you still need to
I still think it
give
should be
it the pomp and
treated
circumstance as a
exactly.
theater. If you're putting that budget behind it, the actors, big names, and all of that, promote it. It's gonna hype up your streaming service. It's gonna hype up attention. It's gonna hype up anticipation. So
It should
yeah,
still
I
be
agree.
treated as a cinema going movie because you're still wanting people to watch that movie and people aren't not as many people are going to have seen marketing if the marketing's out for a 2 weeks or 10 days before the movie comes out rather than if it's 2 months.
Yeah.
It's just, it's strange to me. But I'm sure Disenchanted will be a fine sequel
Yeah,
to,
it
to
looks fun.
Enchanted. I know a lot of people do love Enchanted. And as far as Inside Out 2 goes, I know there's loads of other things. Like I saw there was a Mufasa movie. I mean, way to
Yeah.
milk your product.
I
You know,
know.
why do we need these kind of
And then
things? I
Snow
don't
White
know.
live action is coming.
Oh, no.
Um,
We've had a Snow
yeah.
White live action. It was called Snow White and the Huntsman. It
We
was
had
weird,
2 in the
and it was
same year. We had the
exact
twin movie situation. It was Mirror, Mirror, and then
Mirror, Mirror,
also it's
yes.
called Mirror, Mirror, but then, like, now it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Mandela effect coming back, people
Yes, that's
realizing it
true.
was never Mirror, Mirror.
It's
It
never
was
Mirror,
Magic
Mirror.
Mirror. So
But
it's funny.
I liked the idea of the Snow White and the Huntsman kind of thing.
It
I didn't
had a
I
it
never
had
saw
a
it. I never saw it, but I
no,
like the idea of
it
it because it changed up things. It was Snow White, but it was un-Disneyfied.
it had a good idea, it had a good concept. It it failed at the execution, but Charlize saves it. She's a great evil queen, and she's kind of like the saving grace of that movie.
Well, I mean, whether it failed or not, it tried something different.
Yeah,
What is Disney's live action Snow White gonna do? The exact same boring goddamn
and
thing that
then
the rest of
they're
them have
gonna
done.
pad the plot with ridiculous things that it doesn't need. That's just gonna
Beauty and the
so
Beast all over again,
ugh, which like has me very scared for Little Mermaid. Like casting,
right?
amazing, casting great.
Which we
Um,
got a trailer for, didn't we? A little trailer for Little
Yes,
Mermaid.
and people who were in that panel got to see the whole part of your world sequence, like that whole
Oh,
scene. Yes, from beginning to end. So, but the little bit we saw, great vocals, of course. Halle Bailey's great. I mean, even just the undersea, all of that looks very kind of realistic, and the mermaid effects, I think, look good from what we saw. So
you don't want it.
I'm optimistic about it. But I'm
Yeah,
still
you
a
have to
little
be. You have to
cautiously
be.
optimistic.
And I think there's some of the Disney live action movies that you can be optimistic about. And I just think there's some that you just can't because there's some that just work too heavily fantasized kind of uh, aesthetics,
Yeah.
and there's some that you can make look a little bit more realistic. I think Little Mermaid, because it's underwater, you can make it look as beautiful as the real life ocean. You
Yeah.
can. That's fine. It looks fine. You've got a mermaid there. As long as you've got a good Ursula, and I mean, I'm still not convinced, but not that we see Ursula in this little trailer
No,
anyway.
but I like Melissa McCarthy, like, sh any kind of thing she does, even in a villainous way, it's still kind of silly. So, you
Yeah,
know, I don't know that she can bring the evil sassiness. She might bring, like, a evil kind of silliness and sarcasm kind of
but
thing.
I
Uh,
wouldn't want that, and I know I didn't see this movie either, but I wouldn't want Melissa McCarthy's Ursula to look like Will Smith's Genie.
Genie, yeah.
And I just feel like it's kind of probably going to. And because the rest of Aladdin to me seemed to look like, okay, this looks fine. Oh God, what's that CG monstrosity?
Yeah, and I
The
mean, they
rest of it
fixed it
looks
a little
fine.
bit after they kind of tried to Sonic it a little bit after that trailer, but it still looked
Right.
weird. And just in general, I just did not have fun with that movie. Like, I watched it one time, it was fine. Also just kind of with the casting of Jasmine, I wish they would have, found an Arab, Middle Eastern actress that,
Yes.
because Jasmine is kind of a representation of a darker skinned looking, because, colorism is like a huge thing in media. And she was a darker skinned princess.
Yeah.
So when you're casting a half Indian, half British woman with,
Yeah.
with white passing features, that's very kind of disappointing when you could have given a beautiful dark-skinned Arab
Yes.
woman, because
Yes.
your Aladdin is not some famous actor.
No,
So
he
you
was just
yeah. So while she has a little bit of a bigger name than him, but if you're
she
casting
didn't
your
need to. She didn't need
yeah,
to.
he's the
She could have
title
been.
character and he was somebody kind of unknown.
Yeah.
So, so that's just something also that was a little bit disappointing about that movie.
Yes. But I mean, you can be optimistic about The Little Mermaid. I just think it's probably going to be a situation of, oh, this looks all very nice, and then, oh God, what's that CG monstrosity? And then you go back to, oh, this looks nice.
Yeah. Who's directing that one again? I don't
The Little
remember.
Mermaid, oh, I don't know. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. But we've spoken about, I'm sure we spoke about the Disney live action last week's, didn't we? Or we spoke about them last week. They're strange things to me. They are
Oh, Rob Marshall, who did Chicago and
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
musical
Um,
director. So
but they're weird things. They do. I hate them from a business point because I just feel like you boring bunch of people.
yeah,
I just feel, oh my God, please stop milking what you've already done.
I
Please,
know. Just come up with
please stop
something
milking what you've
new,
already done and
like
making it objectively worse.
like
What's the point?
something like creating something like Turning Red, completely original,
Right.
playing on nostalgia, so much fun, funny. Like I know that's Pixar, but still, like
A
that's
great
under
movie,
yes, but and an original story, an original idea. Like Zootopia. Like you can come
right?
up with original smart concepts that even can have this underlying social message but still be really fun for kids and you know.
Does Judy Hopps walk around Disneyland? I hope she does.
No, I've never seen it. They have what's his face there. I've seen him.
The
The,
fox,
the fox,
Nick.
yeah,
Nick,
Nick.
is he called?
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, why? That's a great movie. I love Zootopia. Not that it's called Zootopia in Britain.
Zootropolis. Why? Why? Like you've never heard of a utopia? Like
I've never referred to that movie as Zootropolis in my entire life, by the
so
way. It is
stupid. It's so dumb.
Zootopia. Because that's just what it's called. Why
So
the need to
dumb.
change the
Yeah,
title?
it's very much a Ford v Ferrari situation.
Which again was such a stupid title in Britain, Le Mans 66, as though oh yeah, that's a
Like that's a
great
common thing
title.
everyone knows about. So stupid.
So, at least it's obvious what the movie's about
Yeah,
if you call it Ford v Ferrari. Who hasn't heard of Ford or Ferrari?
exactly. Well, my favorite will always be California Man.
That one it makes sense to
It
me
makes
because
sense because
nobody
nobody in
has
the UK has a concept of Encino, the city of
exactly,
Encino, California. So you're not going to call it
exactly.
Encino Man,
That
but
one
so
does make
California
sense.
Man makes sense. But really, Zootropolis, stupid. Anyway, like they can come up with original ideas instead of
No,
just
they can't.
regurgitating all their same old stuff.
And spinning off what they've already done. Like I said with this Mufasa announcement thing, sequels, okay, sequels, Disenchanted, Inside Out 2. Yes, I know it's Pixar, but okay, sequels are fine. But it's
Let's
the
just do a
it's the
live action version
spin-off
of the
live
thing that
action.
everybody
Oh,
loved.
you've already done.
Yeah, so like on Hercules, I'm like, I'm scared that this Muses casting is gonna piss people off. They
No, I know, I
the
know.
Muses the Muses better all be black and they better all be just like powerhouse singers. Like please, just please. And stick to the gospel style. Don't turn into some poppy
They kind of
nonsense.
no, it will
Like,
definitely turn into poppy nonsense. They'll be
yes.
singing Ariana Grande songs and things.
Yeah, right.
Definitely. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with Ariana Grande, but Ariana Grande, as
Well, because
someone
yeah,
from Manchester, we love Ariana Grande
she's
deeply.
she's a official Manchesterian or whatever.
That
What
is
do you call
not
your
the correct term at all. Just
what do
say
you call
she's a honorary Manc.
okay.
Ariana
I
Grande, and she
prefer to
is.
say she's a Manchesterian.
Not Manchester. That is just so far away from the full word would be Mancunian,
What?
not Manchesterian.
Manchesterian, I like that.
But not that there's anything wrong with Ariana Grande, but you
No,
can kind of see it
but they
happening.
did. I can't remember what it was. It was some Disney special, and she sang "I Won't Say I'm in Love." Like they had different people sing Disney songs for like this special. I don't know if they did like a kind of a D23 online or something like, during
Ah, okay.
I can't remember, it was some kind of Disney special and she sang the Megara song. So I think
Oh.
maybe that earworm got in people's heads of, oh, maybe she can be a muse or something. I don't know.
To which
So
you said, "No!"
no, the
And
muses were
most other people
uh,
said, "No."
the muses were a great source of representation for me as a child. Like these beautiful black women, narrating this story, all kind of shapes and sizes and funny and cute and sassy and you know, I
And
loved the
look,
muses. So
given the fact that for this week's Morgan hasn't seen, I've just watched Little Shop of Horrors for the first time. This
yes.
show's that
And
episode's
you
coming out on
definitely had
Wednesday.
your version
That's
of the
the exact
muses
same
there.
situation. You have
Yes.
the muses essentially in
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors, don't you? So yes, you need that. You need that for the
Yeah.
Hercules thing. 100% you do. You can't. If you don't do that, you will get some smacks to the
Yes. So
face. You will get some
that
backlash.
casting needs to be perfect, and I'm just worried. So yes, I don't know. Little Mermaid, great casting so far. That little clip that they showed looks amazing.
It does.
Everyone's raving about Haley Bailey and that um part of your world's the full sequence that they got to see. So I haven't seen a bad comment about it. So yeah, I mean that makes me optimistic about it. But we just have not been hitting it with these live action remakes, and they're still just
No, we
cranking them
have
out.
not. No, we have
And
not
Snow White is literally
because
the shortest movie ever, so they're gonna add and pad and throw
they're
some
all
nonsense
short
in
though.
there. Yeah.
They're all short, especially the older ones. You can get away with making 65, 70-minute movies in the 30s. Could you imagine if theatrical movies these days were 70 minutes long? Do you think
Yeah.
people would just riot?
Yes.
Why is the movie
What?
finished?
Yeah,
That was the length of the
that's
movie.
ridiculous.
What you moaning about? It's fine. It's a snappy
Hour
little
and 10
movie.
minutes. Yeah. Nope.
This is the problem.
That will
This is
not
we
do.
need to go back. We need to go back to
2
the
70-minute movies.
no. We need to go back to the movie session of you go to the movie or you go to the cinema. You see some trailers. You see a little. You see a short. You see the feature, and you see like a cartoon, and you
And then
have
you go
like
home, and then you
three
go
and a
about your
half
day.
hours there, and that's your day, and you see a bunch of stuff. Where are all the famous shorts these days? They don't exist. They don't exist because there's nowhere to put them.
And it's ridiculous. Like you're nominating short format films for Oscars every year. No one ever sees them. Why
No
don't you
one
play them?
ever sees them.
You should play them before a movie in the theater because every time Oscar season comes up and people do their little ballots and you see all these short form films and nobody knows what any of them are.
Everybody makes the noise. Eh?
Ugh, what's that? Yeah, so you should play them before movies, like, from the same studio or something.
Even if they're stupid things, how do you think like the Three Stooges
That's how
became big?
Pixar did it, like, their whole little thing of doing their little shorts before their movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Pixar shorts are great, but like going back in time, like I said, like how do you think the Three Stooges became as big as they did? Because they were just in a loads and loads of hundreds of
Yeah.
shorts that just played before movies.
Yeah.
It's make
Yes, so
stuff
that's
like
what the
that.
problem if they're remaking these movies that are fairly short, they're gonna try to add all of these things, and if you're gonna add things to, like, flesh out things that you didn't have time for in a cartoon, or give it a unique spin that makes it a little bit more interesting, but you're still kind of keeping the core, but a lot of them are just like, Cinderella, I think, was something that added a lot that we didn't see in the cartoon while still keeping the core and the things that you saw made the characters more interesting, made the characters more complex, made their motivations make more sense. We saw more with her and the prince spending more time together. We saw the prince having a whole story with his dad. We saw her whole story with her parents. Like all of that stuff added to padding out the story, the runtime of a short cartoon, while also making the characters more fleshed out and interesting. But a lot of these other ones did none of that. They added extra Beauty and the Beast, that stupid book where you go to a place. Why? And that went
Oh God,
nowhere.
yeah.
Like, and then adding this whole extra thing to the curse, and it was just, and
And
the beast
also,
having a terrible song, and
let's not
it's,
forget as well. Let's not forget as well that the problem with the live action Beauty and the Beast is that it doesn't even look very good.
no.
It's not even visually very, very nice
The
to look
beast
at.
looks
The
weird.
Beast looks weird.
Your
Give
bell
me the
can't
French
sing.
one.
Your bell can't sing very well, and it drives me nuts that this woman grew her career on reacting to shit that wasn't there. She did how many Harry Potter movies where she had to react to magical shit that was not there? And then she's in this castle with these magical things and she has the blankest ass stare on her face. She is so much better than what was she doing in this? What? Yes, movie makes me mad. Anyway, Little
Makes you
Mermaid.
mad. Makes you mad,
Yes,
Janine, because
makes me
let's just
mad,
remind
and it
everybody
gives me
again.
that.
Let's remind everybody again. What are we reminding people about Beauty and the Beast? You know what we always like to remind people when we bring up Beauty and the Beast, we remind people that the French one's the best and you
Yes,
have
we
to go and
covered
watch
it.
it.
We did a retrospective. Please listen to our retrospective where we talked La Belle et la Bête, the French version. We talked the animated version, and then this awful, stupid thing. So
As
please,
as I always say, Disney's animated version is a great
it's great.
Beauty and the Beast movie, but it ain't the French one.
The French one was so like surprisingly just like yeah,
It's
it was a nice
wonderful. I
surprise.
saw a
So yes,
lovely poster print from La Belle et la Bête
but
in Manchester the
apparently
other week, and I kind of wanted it. I've nowhere to put it, but I kind of want like a little print
we'll
of the
get it,
poster.
and
It's a
then
beautiful
you'll
poster.
have a place to put it one day. But apparently there's a modern French one as well.
I don't care about a modern French one. It won't be as magical.
Well, I don't know. People are like sharing clips around TikTok of it, and I'm like, what is happening here? So yes, we're totally
The
going
Beast
off
won't look.
off off to a bit of a tangent, but that's how
The
this show
Beast looks
works.
great though.
Yes.
The
Um,
Beast looks great in the French one.
I mean, for having him like actually have real hair just glued to his whole face every
Right.
day, like poor man. But
Oh
he's
man,
a
it
trooper.
works.
Yeah,
Works
he's
though.
a trooper, and it looks great. And yeah, but yes, it's just those kinds of terrible things, and you know things to try to pad out these plots are just I think is the downfall of these live action films.
Which seems to
Um,
be what happened with the old Pinocchio.
Yes. So, yeah, I think we've pretty much talked about all that we know at this very moment in time, or things that we're interested in. Oh, there was also did I say Haunted Mansion where Jamie Lee Curtis is playing Madame Leota? Um,
Yes, you did. So
yes.
that's happening as well. Are we interested? No, because I like Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion.
Really?
I do. I like that movie. It's a ridiculous movie, and I actually love it.
I've only seen it one time. I don't
I,
really
I, I,
remember what
I
happens.
honestly, I have a weird guilty pleasure
I mean,
soft
I
spot
don't think
for it.
it's bad. I just like there's so much rich stuff happening in the Haunted Mansion that they didn't use any of it. Like I would love,
No, it's a stupid movie.
yes, I wish they would have actually used things from the actual ride in the movie, like
Yeah.
made it about,
Well,
that bride
they
who
used
kills
the
all her husbands and the hitchhikers and the, the people in the elevator and,
yes, okay, but it's Wallace Shawn's in the movie.
isn't Terrence
Terence
Stamp in?
Stamp's in the movie.
Good grief. Well,
I
yes.
actually, I do. I have a weird guilty pleasure for Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion. So, admittedly, I think that one do a remake of. Sure, do a remake of because you could improve on that.
Yeah,
You
you could.
could. Of
But
course
a
you would.
lot of these ones that they're doing, yeah, so which will lead us right into Pinocchio. We neither of us have watched it, but
I don't want
everything
to.
I really don't want to. Everything I've seen on it, literally, I kind of watched Real Rejects. I like a huge fan of their channel. They did a whole review and they kind of watch it, do kind of a bit of a watch along and then they review it at the end. So I kind of basically watched the majority of the movie just kind of watching them
Okay.
do their commentary on it. And a lot of the changes they make are literally just trying to play to, like, when people complain about, oh, they're just trying to be, woke and da 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 da, and they don't want to really trying to tread this line to not offend people and PC and this and that. Like, this movie is doing that. Most of the time when people complain and make those woke complaints,
It's nonsense.
it's nonsense, but in this case, it's actually kind of true. Like, literally, the whole
Oh
point is
dear.
Pinocchio is doing bad things, and he needs his conscience, and he needs to learn from his mistakes, and blah blah blah. But literally, they still try to make him be moral, even when he's like doing bad things. So, at the beginning, he goes to school, but then he says, "Oh no," he falls into temptation and doesn't go to school. But
Yeah.
in this version, he actually goes to he decides, you know what? Yes, I'm not gonna listen to them. I'm gonna be good and go to school. But it's only because the school throws him out for not being a real boy is when he goes and
So you're changing the entire motivation of Pinocchio.
yes, then he's telling lies, but he's only telling lies so his nose will grow so he can get the key to get out of the thing. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't mean to lie. I was just lying so my nose would grow so I could get the key." So
So you're changing the entire motivation of
yes. So he's
Pinocchio.
not lying because he's bad and he, needs to learn from that. He's lying so that he can, save the day and help himself and, you know.
There's no
And then
longer a
they go,
message to Pinocchio then.
yes. And then the whole thing of the boys getting turned into donkeys because they're bad is because they're doing bad things, and that's punishment for being bad. They go to the freaking place and they're drinking root beer. You know how, because they say several times that it's root beer. And obviously
Uh,
they
I,
took out all the tobacco, smoking, whatever. But yeah. So
I
now
don't
these
know
boys are
why
getting
though.
punished
I
for
don't
drinking
understand
root beer.
why. I don't understand what particularly Disney's issue is with just showing drinking and smoking. Like it's just a thing. You just tell us that it's bad, but
Yes,
show
and
it.
that's the whole point.
You don't
If
need
you
to
if you
not
do those
show it and
things,
pretend it doesn't exist.
if you do those things, you will get turned into a donkey. I think that's more,
Than not having it
deterrent
in there.
deterrent thought than telling them if they drink root beer, that's gonna happen to them.
The root beer companies will be up in arms.
Yes. It's like on if you heard any of that news about the Sex and the City show where they showed the big dying on a Peloton and Peloton had to do a whole thing. You will not die using our our bikes. The root beer companies are gonna have to do the
They
same.
will.
You
They'll
will
have
not
to.
turn into a donkey drinking our product. Oh my
The
gosh.
sales will
Yes.
be through the floor. They won't be able to
Yes.
cope. The business will die.
And then just this very much product placementy moment of you see a wall of Geppetto's clocks that he's made, and there's a Who Framed Roger Rabbit clock. Oh yeah, it's a mega.
Oh, well done,
and like
Zemeckis.
and of course Tom Hanks. So there's a Toy Story Woody clock there, and just like a bunch of Disney IPs in clock form
Oh
on this
dear.
wall.
Oh dear.
Yes, and Monstro's like not a whale; he's a sea monster. But I guess that's more. Think that in the book, it's a sea monster, and like
I've
the
never read.
drawings.
I've never read Pinocchio.
Yes, I think that. Yeah, I think in the book I saw something that Monstro was like actually a sea monster
I
in
don't
the book.
mind. I don't. I
But
don't mind that. I mind changing the entire motivation and message of Pinocchio because then it's
yeah,
not Pinocchio. It's something
yeah,
else at this point.
like he's still trying to be very good and moral, like pretty much throughout the movie, even when he's doing the bad things.
The point is, he doesn't know what's good and bad. So you're telling me that as soon as he's born, Pinocchio, he knows good from bad. That's why is Jiminy Cricket there then? Jiminy Cricket's the one who teaches him what's good and bad. He has to do bad things to learn they are bad. If he doesn't
Yeah.
do, or if he does these bad things but then says, it's okay, I was really doing it for this good reason, then there's literally no point to the entire story.
Yeah.
Because he already knows his lesson. He's already learned what he's supposed to
Yes.
be like. So let's not bother with the
Yeah, so
rest of the story.
this is not me from me watching. This is me just from seeing clips of it, and so I'm just like,
Weird. Weird. Go and watch proper Pinocchio, not this nonsense. Just because children are smoking cigars in that movie doesn't mean your child's going to.
yeah. So I don't know. It just seems kind of ridiculous. People seem like they're not very happy with it. There were mentions of like the CGI just not being good, like CGI at the
Brilliant.
end. I think I watched a review with Dan Merle and he was kind of talking about how, mostly like if you get a screener, typically sometimes there'll be a little kind of, notation saying, hey, the CGI is not completely finished on this version yet.
Yeah.
And so you'll watch it and be like, okay, I understand why this doesn't look great. But then people watched the Disney Plus and it looked still not great. So that was just the final version.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh dear me, Janine.
Yes.
It's a shame. It's a shame because I'm
Yeah.
sure I spoke last week about how much I really like Disney's Pinocchio.
Yeah. I haven't watched it in forever. So my plan was to watch the original and then watch this one. And now I'm like, I've
Just,
seen enough clips
yeah,
that I'm just
you
like,
don't have to. I really just don't
yeah.
do
Yeah.
it.
I think I've seen enough clips that I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't think I need to watch that.
Well, I know there's plenty of other things that happened this
Ye-
week, but we are in fear of going for an overly long episode that we can't actually do today. We've got to try and make
I
this a
know.
little bit of a shorter episode,
Well,
unfortunately. Not too shorter, but
I will just quickly talk about the panels I went to
oh
today.
yes, yes.
So I went to a Simpsons panel. So they didn't really announce any kind of huge things. They just kind of talked about Treehouse of Horror, how they're gonna do like a double episode.
You're in season 87, The
I
Simpsons. I'm
know.
not interested
They're
anymore.
going into season 34. So
Jesus.
they had a Yeardley Smith, Lisa Simpson, she moderated and it was like, animators and Matt Groening, the creator, um there on the panel. So that you had a couple of the animators, the writers, and
I
Matt
love The
Groening.
Simpsons. I love The Simpsons. I do. But it just does it not just come to a point where if you're gonna make it, just
Yeah.
make it. But like, who's interested about new Simpsons now?
I haven't watched
No,
it in
what are they
forever, but it
doing?
was a really fun kind of panel how they did it. Like they had like little animated segments and then they did like pre-asked questions. So like they had like somebody who they already knew what the question was gonna
Okay,
be, and then they animated like Homer answering the question. So those
okay,
little segments were fun. They had a whole little kind of fun thing they did where Lisa wants to be a Disney princess. And so Bart's like, yeah, just go in here and you'll be Disney princess. But then he's really low key and it's Tom Hiddleston and he's like doing this commentary and
oh
like
God.
talking about how this is his like, contractually obligated appearance. And then she kind of ends up hanging out with all the Disney villains and they're telling her, don't be a Disney princess, be a villain. We're all great. And so yeah, like they had some fun little animated segments. They had one of the animators like drawing, like people would tell him what action he wants the character to do, and then he'd pick the Simpsons character and
Okay,
like draw them live doing the action. And so yeah, kind of the biggest announcement was yeah, they're gonna do a double Treehouse of Horror thing. One of them is gonna be like it was animated by like um uh like Japanese animators
okay,
to look like Death Note, that
okay,
Japanimation. And then the second one's gonna be like a crusty Pennywise thing.
okay,
So
okay.
yeah.
You're getting anime Simpsons
Yes.
and Pennywise Simpsons. Okay, fair enough.
Yes. So it was a fun little panel. And then the last panel I went to was they I think throughout the day they were doing a bunch of Disney Legends panels. So it's an award that they give out to people who work for Disney.
Yeah.
So they had several throughout the day. So the one I went to was for what are their names. The music guy, like he did a lot of the music. I think he did like lyricist and like music
Okay.
kind of producer for a lot of the biggest songs. Like he won an Oscar, I think, for like Beauty and the Beast, and he's the one who
Okay.
kind of like found Celine Dion to sing the soundtrack version. He worked on songs, he worked with Phil Collins on the Tarzan songs, and any big Disney bop song, he worked on it. So,
You know how much I love the
yes.
Tarzan soundtrack?
It's good.
I
It's
really
better.
do.
Yes, it's so good. Chris Montan, so it was him, and then, Doris, Hardoon. She's an
Okay.
Imagineer, so she did a lot of work on, some of the, attractions at the Hong Kong Disney and the, Shanghai Disney. Uh,
Okay.
so she's kind of the Imagineer behind building those things and creating and designing all of those things, and has worked for Disney for years. So the two of them were
Lovely.
awarded legends, and so just gave a lot of commentary in their careers and like what they love about working for Disney, and that it's like a family, and kind of giving kind of motivational advice. If you want to, don't give up on things. Work hard, and that kind of thing, and talked fun stories from working with different people in the music industry, and her talking working with different people. So yeah, it was a kind of a great little listen of people who have done a lot for Disney
Very
over the
interesting
years. So yeah,
things,
so
I'm
those were the
sure.
two panels I was at today, and then just kind of walked the floor and saw
Yeah.
people. Got to see the Maltons.
Oh,
So
very nice.
yeah, and catch
Very
up with
nice.
Jesse and see little baby Daisy, and
Oh,
you
yes.
know, so yeah.
I hope they're all doing well.
They seem to be doing very well, so
Yeah.
it's good to
Good.
catch up and see
Good.
them, and
We love the Maltings
we
generally.
do,
We
we
do.
do.
We
So
do.
yeah, good day, just catching up, running around and seeing everything, lots to see. I got to see they did a little thing of where you could go in and see kind of upcoming attractions that they're building in all the different Disney parks, and they actually had a whole kind of uh miniature of what the Tiana,
Yes, I saw this. I
Splash
saw
Mountain
this.
is gonna look like. And then Tiana came out, and I took her, and
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, hey, Tiana." I got my little picture with my girl, and I was like, all Tiana today. So, um, yeah, so it looks really cool. They went to New Orleans and kind of looked around, and they're gonna put in also like a Eudora's like dress shop, because her mother was like a
Okay.
seamstress, with like Tiana's tasting tips. So I don't know if it's gonna be like a dual little Tiana's kind of place and
I
her
assume you're
mom's
gonna have a
shop.
restaurant.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see anything like an official Tiana's place, which is like, just make a Tiana's place. Like, it's the
Yeah, why would
biggest.
you not?
Yes, but it looks like it's just like a dress shop slash
Okay.
Tiana's tastings or something. I can't remember what that's called.
I
But
really
yeah,
think you should just do a
yes. So
restaurant.
they had kind of a little look at what it's gonna look like, and
Well, that's
um
good. That's
yeah.
good. But also, like, with this, changing Splash Mountain to Tiana and Princess and the Frog, the ride's the same.
Yes, pretty much.
It's a retheme.
It's just a
Like,
retheming.
you're not
Yeah.
changing the actual
But,
layout of the log
there's
flume.
gonna be people who have their issues with it,
Of course there are,
and
but
then I think they're gonna
this is
make
the
it like.
point of why not change? I mean, yes,
Yeah.
okay, we all like the song, don't we, from Splash Mountain?
Yes.
We all like the Zippity Doo Dah song. We do, sure,
But
okay.
I think you
But
live your life just fine without it. Um,
what
yes.
movie's it from? Oh God, right, okay.
Yeah.
Get it switched.
And then it looks like they're gonna do, I think maybe at, Disney World, they're doing like a to scale like Tafiti from, I think that's her name, from the big, Earth lady person from Moana.
Okay,
Yeah. So they had like a model of that to look at, and talk to, show what they're going to be building over there. So yeah, we got to see kind of what they're working on for
nice.
the parks in the future and stuff. So
Ah,
yeah, I was just.
they're gonna keep bigging up the parks, aren't they? Doing more
Yeah, and adding
Marvel
more things,
stuff.
changing things. So, yeah, it was we just walked around, saw kind of different booths and different things they're working on, and fun little panels, and we saw some me and James White, we saw some people doing trivia, and we were just looking at them like, We've got all this
Amateurs.
forever. Yeah, so it was pretty funny. So yeah, overall, just fun kind of first D23 day for me. And yeah,
Yes.
so I can probably talk next Monday about
Yes.
everything that has
Yes.
not happened yet.
And I think
So
that will
yes.
likely be exactly what we're doing, I would
Yeah,
assume, Janine?
essentially. Yes, because there's gonna be more reveals once this airs that we couldn't get to, obviously. So
Yes. But like I said, I mean, there's been other stuff that's, come out this past week. Even season 5 of Cobra Kai
I
came out.
know.
And when we're going to do something on that, I just
I
don't
don't
know. There's too
know.
many things
There's so
going
many
on.
things happening, but yes, definitely want
We
to do
will we will at some
lots of
point.
big Disney stuff. Then we are. I'm a huge Disney fan. Morgan's a
Yes.
moderate Disney fan.
I'm a Disney fan. I always say I think I'm more of a Disneyland fan than a Disney fan.
Fan, yeah,
I
and a
love
Disney
I love the
media
park.
fan. Yeah,
Yes. I do. I do.
yeah.
I'm not I wouldn't wear the ears, for example.
No,
I'm not an ear
I could
wearer.
never see Morgan in a
You
pair of
know,
ears.
I'm not a dress up and go to Disneyland, but I'm a go to Disneyland and have a nice picture with Goofy kind of person. I like that.
You're a simple man.
I am.
Okay.
But yes, there's been lots of other stuff,
Yes.
other episodes of, new episodes of She-Hulk and Rings of Power and other
Yes,
things
so
like that as
much
well
to
that we're just
discuss.
not going to get
Yes.
time to talk
And
about
a
today.
lot of those things we're definitely going to do probably some live conversations anyway. So
Of course
once
we
they kind of meet their finale. So
are. Of course we are. Although I will say, I think you will get more into the Rings of Power after watching this third episode.
okay, yeah, I haven't
I
watched it
will
yet.
say that
Yes. Okay, I'm
from
excited.
from our discussion that we had last
Yeah.
week. But let's tonally change the entire show from Disney and happiness to horror and blood and gore and nastiness. Because as we like to start spooky season in September on It's a Wonderful Podcast,
Yes.
we have already done that with Morgan Hasn't Seen. We're now bringing more horror onto this show and will pretty shortly, I think, be bringing more onto the main show as well
Yeah.
as we go through September and October. Janine, we have a fun Let's Talk today.
Yes.
What's this?
So this kind of came out of me posing a question on a poll to our It's a Wonderful Podcast patrons. I like to kind of delve into a horror franchise, and last year I believe I did Friday the 13th because I had really only seen the first movie. And so I watched that and kind of was reviewing each movie as I went along. So I said, I think every major horror franchise I have some, aside from Scream, I have some gaps. So which one
Certainly
should I
not
watch?
Scream.
Yes. So I mean, I think I've missed like the middle Halloweens, like the ones with her uh, you know,
Yeah,
um
Halloween. Halloween 4 is great. I
like
love
Halloween
Halloween 4.
4, the one with Paul Rudd, like I haven't
Yeah,
seen those. I literally have seen 1, 2, 3, Resurrection, um,
H2O.
H2O, and the new ones. So like there were like 2 in there that I haven't seen. I haven't seen all the Child's Play. But it looked like so far in the poll, everyone's voting for Nightmare on Elm Street. So I haven't seen all of them.
Okay,
So that got me thinking about, I realized there are a lot of Wes Craven films I have not seen. So now
shocking.
so while I am going to watch all the Nightmare movies, I kind of just want to watch all of Wes Craven's movies. So
You
that's
can
my
do. It's not that big of a
yes.
filmography.
So I kind of was like, you know what? I kind of want to go on a mission this spooky season and just watch everything Wes Craven. So then it
Good.
got me thinking about, movies of his that I really love, but also movies of his that I haven't seen. So for this Let's Talk, I thought it would be fun for us to pick a horror director and talk about 2 movies of theirs that we really love, and then talk some movies of theirs that we've never watched, some movies of theirs that we haven't seen, and discuss those.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, you picked Wes Craven. I've gone with David Cronenberg.
Ooh.
Interestingly, an older horror director or anything
Yeah.
like that. I'll save some of that for later on in spooky season.
Yes.
Um, but no, I went with David Cronenberg. So I have a couple of Cronenberg movies that I really do like, and I've watched one new one to me as well that I would like
Okay.
to talk about. But do you want to start with Wes Craven, or should I start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So
One Wes
obviously,
Craven movie Jeannine really loves is I Wonder What It Is.
obviously, a Scream. Scream is my favorite horror movie. My favorite horror franchise has my favorite final girl. I love this franchise so much. Basically, it kind of came from um, me really being brave now at a certain age. I think I was like was just turning 14 or turning 15. I remember the first time I watched it. And this was me, because I talk a lot about, I tried to watch A Nightmare on Elm Street when with my sister and her friend when I was little because I wanted to be cool and stay up with. I think I was maybe 8, and I tried to watch it, and it terrified me. I couldn't eat pizza for a week because for a week or a month or something. I remember just every time we got pizza, I was grossed out by it for a decent amount of time because it reminded me of Freddy Krueger's face. But I
I was
was
gonna
still
say a week isn't really that long
yeah,
to
no,
just
for
not
like
eat
I
pizza.
remember it being a significant amount of time that I was like, "Ugh, pizza, it's Freddy Krueger's face." Um, but I was still intrigued by it. So I finally got to an age where I was really like excited about horror and really kind of ready to, not be scared of it and enjoy it. So we were just moving into a new house and I was having my birthday party and it was going to be a slumber party. So we decided to have the slumber party at the new house. And we didn't really have like a lot of furniture. We just had like a TV set up and we're all going to sleep on the floor anyway. So we were talking about what to rent for the slumber party. So my best friend at the time was like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen Scream?" And I'm like, "No, what's that?" She's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good." So she kind of broke it down. She didn't reveal anything, but she was like, "Oh my gosh, so this is the story. There's da 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 da. And there's 2 killers, and you don't know who it is." Or she didn't say there's 2 killers, but she's like, "Oh my gosh, and somebody's killing people, and you don't know who it is, and the kills are so crazy." And da. And she like described like the whole movie and talked about Skeet Ulrich being so cute and all. I'm like, "Oh." So then I'm like,
Except he's
"Mom,
really
can we rent?"
not.
Oh, he is cute. Shut up.
No,
He
no, he
is
isn't.
he's greasy, but
He's
there's
very
something about him.
greasy.
Yeah, he is very greasy, but Anyway, so she described this whole movie to me, and I got really excited. I'm like, "Mom, can we rent?" And my mom was like, "Okay." So I don't think she knew what it was. I didn't get into any detail on what it was. That covers kind of doesn't really tell you too much. So
No, it doesn't.
no. So we rented it. We watched it at my like 14 birthday party, slumber party. And oh my gosh, the twists and the turns, and oh my gosh, the excitement, and these cool teens making jokes and having this fun commentary about horror was just like, I'm like, this is like, I remember thinking it was smart at 14, not really even knowing that much about horror at the time. And just loved the story, loved the twist, loved the mix of the comedy in there. That it actually felt very scary. The chase, probably one of the best horror kind of final girl circuits
Yeah.
in film. The kills were really interesting and cool. That opening with Drew Barrymore, just that it just kind of, you're not expecting it. Everything of it was just so well done, so pitch perfect. Just love everything about it. Um, you know, and me going into teenage years, I'm like, I want to be a teenager like these kids. They're so cool and smart, and the way they're talking about these movies and the way they're kind of analyzing things, and yeah, it just
It came at the perfect time for you.
yes, and, like you don't really always remember the first time you saw something, and like I remember the first time I saw Scream, and I absolutely loved everything about it, and even not knowing that much about the genre at the time, I could tell it was doing interesting, smart, cool things. And every rewatch, I find something new. Like I literally saw it in theaters for the first time earlier this year, and I found new things that more things that like, oh, you know what? I think she did this because of that. Oh, I didn't notice that was going on in the background. So like, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So
There's
Scream,
obviously
so
there's a
good.
lot to love about Scream. Everybody who knows you remotely knows how much you love
Yeah.
Scream.
Yes. It's
It's
great.
the Janine thing, isn't it?
It
So
is. It
this is
is.
why it was the most painfully obvious choice for this particular Let's
Yeah.
Talk for you.
Yes.
Um, I don't, I you know, there's not Cronenberg movies that I love on the level that you love Scream. There just isn't.
Yeah.
I like the Cronenberg movies that I have seen. I do. I picked him for this because he's a big name horror director who I
Yeah.
haven't actually been too
Well versed
familiar
in.
with. Yeah, too
Yeah.
well versed in, too familiar with, too well watched on.
But you know his name and you immediately think of horror, you know.
You do, and you immediately
Yeah.
think of a certain style of
Yeah.
you know, twisted sci-fi body horror,
Yeah.
and you know it comes across a lot. You know, I'll save the more obvious one for the second little bit of a discussion because I wanted to talk about The Brood from 1979,
Yeah, see, I don't
which
like, I don't like, I don't even know.
it's a great movie. It's a great movie. It's Oliver Reed's in it, right? So Oliver Reed plays this psychiatrist. And there's I forget who the like lead couple is, or like actor wise. I don't think I've massively seen them in anything else.
Yeah.
But there's Oliver Reed's this psychiatrist. He's doing experimental therapy on this guy's wife,
Yeah.
right? Who's really troubled, really has these issues, and she's kind of kept away, kept in this, facility almost in this home. But there's a load of kind of really horrific murders going on around, and our lead guy is the husband of the patient of Oliver Reed,
Yeah.
who's trying to figure out kind of all these things that are going on. And there's just these weird small hooded children that are kind of creepily running about the place who
Yeah.
seem to be committing these murders.
Yeah.
Like they've all got bright coats on. Like it's 1979 as well, so it feels it's very, very 70s in its style.
Yeah.
You think of the little red coated figure in Don't Look Now.
Mm.
It's and she's kind of running
Mhm.
around a lot of the time around those streets of Venice. This feels a little bit like that, where you're just really weirded
Ooh.
out by
Yeah.
who these little
Things
creatures
are running
are
around. Yeah.
that are running around, and you really don't know what's going on. Oliver Reed is pretty good and intense in this movie. He isn't our lead. He's our. I've noticed this with Cronenberg movies, or a lot of Cronenberg movies, is he will cast a powerhouse Englishman as the biggest name in the movie that's actually the supporting player but
Oh,
gets
okay.
top billing.
Yeah.
And our actual lead is an American, a smaller name, or a Canadian, because they're Canadian movies, because Cronenberg's Canadian. And I think technically The Brood would come under being a Canadian movie. But it's very, very creepy. It's very, very mysterious. He does not tell you anything that's going on. He leaves
Yeah.
you so confused until everything's revealed. And I don't think it takes away to know the spoiler. Is that basically these little creatures running around are the children of this woman's rage that she kind of births from her own being.
Anger. Okay.
Not like childbirth, like they grow from her skin, and there's these really uncomfortable scenes of
Of that happening.
towards the end of the movie. Yeah, and you know
You
what
actually see it.
Cronenberg's like. You
Yeah.
see it
Mhm.
happening, and she gets like really feral with these. They've all they're all like really creepy. They've got like cat's eyes and cleft lips and really weird hairlines, and they're
Mhm.
kind of scarred. They don't speak, but they're all seemingly they're like a swarm. They're the Brood.
Yeah.
That's the title, the
Yeah.
Brood. Um, who have been committing all these murders. But so yeah, they all come from or they're all kind of birthed by this woman's rage. That's what Oliver Reed refers
Okay.
to it as. They're the children of her
Of her
rage,
oh, that's
and
interesting.
because she's the wife of our lead character, there's this
Yeah.
really kind of messy marriage thing going on between the two of them. At the same time Cronenberg was making this, he was going through a really messy
Oh,
divorce as well.
wow. So he's definitely kind of
So
just,
it's
like,
very, very
projecting
yeah,
his own personal kind of things on
it's
that.
very
Yeah.
projecting, it's very
Okay.
personal, or when you know that, you can tell.
Yeah.
But those scenes of her,
Ooh,
those scenes of the brood coming
kind of
into
coming
being,
out. Yeah.
she turns really feral, she licks the blood off them
Ooh.
and kind of
Like a
just
mother animal kind of,
exactly.
mhm.
But there's if you Google images from the brood, the one thing that will probably come up is her just covered in blood, sat there with this newborn child,
Thing, yeah.
um, because she's her body or her, like, abdomen is alien, it's otherworldly, it's just completely inhuman, because
Ooh.
it's just seeping out these
Yeah.
creatures. It's really weird. It's as weird as you would expect some Cronenberg movies to be. But it has that 70s mystery horror movie feel to it,
Yeah.
and it's really, really unsettling, really,
Ooh,
really creepy,
okay.
um, and appropriately gory when it wants to be, but not over the top and all the time, which is, I
Yeah.
just think, what he does really well. He's very, very interesting as a director, and it's kind of, I think it's considered a kind of mid-ish tier Cronenberg movie. It's not up there with The Fly and Videodrome and things like that,
Yeah.
but I think it should be. I
Okay.
watched it for the first time
Yeah.
last year
Definitely is
and
making me wanna watch it. Yeah.
really, really, really did enjoy it.
I like the concept. It's really kinda interesting.
Really did
Especially,
enjoy it.
like, if it does, you really can feel that personal, like it's something he was going through.
You can.
Yeah,
There's
I'm really
there's
I'm really intrigued by that.
there's a real confusion between husband and wife in the movie.
Yeah.
They just don't. He has just got no idea who she is anymore.
Yeah.
It's, he's really concerned as to what Oliver Reed's doing to her, and it's whether Oliver Reed is actually doing this to her or whether Oliver Reed's actually helping her by keeping her safe and kind of locked up, because if she was allowed to just be out to create all these creatures
Yeah.
who are committing these horrific, seemingly random murders, it's it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's very unsettling though, and I
Okay.
really like it.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Um, my second movie is one that was fairly new to you, but we did cover it on the podcast. The People Under the
Oh, a
Stairs.
great
I
movie.
loved this movie. I just the fact that he could take, you know, like you already kind of saw him use the Scream movies to kind of, and of course, credit to Kevin Williamson who wrote those movies. But for him to, a lot of it, when you kind of look at behind the scenes stuff, it's really like Kevin giving that base and then putting in there Wes will make it scary. Wes
Yeah,
will, make this make sense, and Wes will, add whatever he needs to bring this to life. He has just a note in here. Wes will make it scary. Wes will, figure this part out of it out. So it was very much a collaborative thing. But the fact that the Scream movies were always a commentary on horror and just film in general, like the rules of a horror movie,
yeah,
calling attention to that, the rules of a sequel, the rules of a trilogy. Um, so the fact that, you go back to this movie and you're giving the backdrop of gentrification as kind of the whole base of a horror story
yeah.
is such a kind of really interesting focus on what was going on in the world. Um, and then adding this kind of fantastical horror element to it.
And the
Uh,
fairy tale nature of it
yes.
as well.
And, you're having your lead be a black kid. So as a
Yeah,
kid watching it, you're like, "Oh, this kid is like, saving the day and kicking ass and doing all this stuff." And, you know, he's the hero. He's black and he's a kid. So like any black kid who sees that is like, that is the coolest thing ever. So, for him to have that representation and have this kid be the hero of this story and this crazy family, just the performances of, the mother and father character and the creepiness of them. And um yeah, and
it
it's kind of it being a bottle episode type movie where, you're just in one place and you're in the creepy walls of this house. And you know
yeah.
and the very tense moments of if he's gonna get caught, if they're gonna see him, and, they're chasing him and he's hiding in this place and they're shooting in the wall because they think he might be in there. And, then the added
It turns things on its head as well, doesn't it? Because
yes, it's very tense and
because the movie's called The People Under the Stairs, you
yeah.
assume that the people under the stairs are the villains of the
Those are the
movie.
villains, yes,
They're not. They're just the creepy, captives of
of the real villains
yeah,
who are the source of all the gentrification that's happening in the
exactly.
neighborhood.
Exactly.
So, on several layers, they're villains. And so to kind of see your black kid hero kind of save the day. And uh you know we have Bill Cobb in there as well, doing
Yes,
his thing.
he
Really
is.
liked him in this movie. um so yeah, just really smart in kind of using what's happening in the world as a backdrop for a horror film. And yeah, like you have your title having you think that, like, one thing, and then subvert that expectation once you go into the film.
Yeah, because
And
you think like what creepy people scuttling up through the
yes,
walls.
and they still kind of keep you being scared of these things,
They do.
for
But
a
they
lot of the
are
yeah,
ultimately helpful. The
yeah.
people under the stairs themselves, or you could also call it the people living in the walls, because it's the same thing.
Yeah. And like then you kind of can twist the title, on its head, because like
Yeah,
if you see the title and you see the cover, it's like this creepy house, the people under the stairs, and like a skull. So
yeah,
you're immediately thinking that they're the villains. Um, but then, when you realize the title of the movie is about the heroes of the story,
yeah, essentially.
Yes. And making them the focal kind of hero, that's why you want to highlight and make that the title of your movie.
Yeah, the
So,
people who are shoved aside.
yeah.
We're to support the people who shoved aside. I love the ending of it as well. Money rain,
Yes,
money rain at the end
make
of
it
it.
rain. So, yes, and great comeuppance because I love me some
Yes,
comeuppance.
yes,
And yes, just black kid hero, just really kind of cool to see as a point of representation. And um, great social commentary um, in a horror movie. And
I always said as well, it's a outstanding double feature with Candyman
yes,
as
yes,
the two actually good horror movies of the early 90s.
with social commentary about, you know, things like this. So, what's going on in the world. And
Yeah.
yeah,
There's no better two horror movies in the early 90s
yeah,
than those two. There really isn't.
it's great.
And being that they are thematically
Kind
fairly
of
similar
similar about the same things. Yeah. And then you
makes
can
it
make it a
more
triple
interesting.
with the new Candyman.
Well, you could, but then you
'Cause
might as well just watch the Candyman movies and just, if
but
you're
to show
watching,
th but to show even all this time later, gentrification is still
yes,
happening. And,
oh yeah,
nothing has really changed. I think that's kind of an even more
yeah, I
interesting
suppose so.
layer
I
to
suppose
that,
so.
all that. Yeah. So,
It's a great movie,
yes,
though.
I just really have a lot of fun with People in Distress. Great performances and just really interesting story, really kind of tense twists and turns. You don't really expect it, when you're first watching it. And yeah, just I always have a lot of fun with that movie. Really smart
Yeah.
horror film.
Well, again, I'm gonna go with the obvious one for Cronenberg.
Yeah.
Really, it's the one everybody thinks about when they think of Cronenberg movies because it's The Fly.
Mhm.
Everybody likes The Fly, don't they? I
Yeah.
mean, I like 1958's The Fly. I do.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting movie, and I think this is a fantastic remake of it because it changes so much about it.
Yeah.
It keeps the core concept of, a scientist, an egotistical scientist thinking he's above
The
everything and,
God,
and
yeah. Hmm.
and really messing himself up in a very creepy way because,
Yes, and the slow
58,
deterioration of
yeah,
just like the layers of it getting worse and worse, and
exactly.
things falling off and skin
And
boiling up, and
this is the
oh
additional factor of 86 is The Fly, and this is why, you could say it's the better version
yeah,
because it really does show deterioration. It really does show the mental and physical consequences of what Seth Brundle does,
descent, yeah,
more so than 58's The Fly does.
yeah,
58's The Fly is very kind of mopey. There's a lot of depression in there. There's
yeah,
kind of a lot of, oh God, what have I done in there? Let's cover
yeah,
my face up. But there's not this slow physical breaking of
descent,
humanity
yes, mhm,
um, that is so obvious with The Fly, and because the effects are so great, and because Cronenberg just loves being
gritty,
really nasty with his body
yeah,
horror as well,
mhm,
it's it makes it so clear. And
yes,
Goldblum's great. Goldblum's so
mhm,
good
yeah,
in The Fly. I think I think it's still his best role. Because it's the one where it's the one I've seen where he just seems the most reserved. He's not over Goldbluming things really.
yeah,
He's still
he's
being
not being the
Goldblum.
he's not being the human embodiment of jazz music.
No, he isn't. He isn't really. He's because he's younger. Because it's he hasn't fully become Jeff Goldblum yet, and I think
No,
he has by Jurassic Park time.
yeah,
Even in Jurassic
he's
Park,
still a little bit of Body Snatchers Goldblum.
yeah, he's just he's more raw, and I
Yeah,
like that, and it needs that.
yeah,
But it's a perfect body horror movie because body horror should be about
and, like,
deterioration of humanity.
mhm, and
That's what The Brood's
Cronenberg's
about as well.
visuals, yeah, and
You know,
Cronenberg's visuals, they're so
yeah,
memorable right away, it's his style, and it stays with you, and it scares you, and that's what you want
the
in a movie
stories he
like
tells as
this.
well, though, the stories
Mhm,
he wants to make into movies, Cronenberg, are always about usually science gone wrong, science gone too far.
yeah,
Um, People thinking they're above the world.
yeah,
He doesn't like this kind of thing, or weird
cautionary tales.
cautionary
Yeah,
tales, breaking of human spirit. He loves humanity,
yeah,
and the breaking of that is what scares him. Is what his kind of is the obvious fear element to a lot of Cronenberg movies, and certainly, obviously, in The Fly, it is,
yeah,
and because it's so blatantly obvious in The Fly, it's just done so well.
yeah,
If it wasn't done as well, it would come across as really kind of ham-fisted and so obvious as like, oh
yeah,
God. But because it's very self-serious, I think actually helps it.
yeah,
And this isn't something I usually say. I like fun with my horror movies, but when you reach a certain era of horror and a certain
that
tone,
works. Yeah,
you keep that self-seriousness in there, and it
yeah, it
really, really
works.
massively works
Mhm,
for Cronenberg's movies.
yeah.
Um, it really does. I love The Fly. Be afraid.
Yeah,
Be very
very
afraid.
afraid. Yeah,
So,
I forget that line is from that.
it's great. It's great.
Yes.
Janine, you watched new Wes Craven movies.
Yes. Well, as I said at the start of this, I kind of gave myself the mission to not only watch our patron selected Nightmare on Elm Street movies, which I will be watching all spooky season, but to watch all of Wes Craven's movies at a certain point. So I actually watched 2 new Wes Craven movies.
I only watched one new Cronenberg movie.
Well, you're not on a mission like me. So.
I'm not actually. That is true.
I watched his first film, The Last House on the Left.
Oh, good. What a tonal shift.
I'd seen the remake actually several times, but I'd never seen the original. I do believe he was a producer on the remake.
Okay.
And they do change it up a little bit, but I always had heard how brutal, the original film was.
I'm just really interested with you being a real kind of fun Wes Craven fan,
Yeah.
who kind of is able to make self-referential jokes and all this. To
Yeah.
realize that he started with just the most horrifically
But
realistic,
even in this
brutalist
movie,
movies.
you have like your goofy banjo,
You do, yes, you
like cops.
do.
One of them being played by Martin Cove.
Yes, you do have the stupid police officers.
Bumbly police, and they purposely were making them goofy and like dealing with the chicken lady, and they're trying to hitch a ride on her truck, and she's like, "No, you're too heavy. You're like 50 chickens," and like
But
all this
is it
silliness.
not the most grimy movie you've ever seen?
It just made me also really sad because I was kind of reading up trivia about it, and the girl who played the lead, she was talking about how her co-stars were very mean to her and cruel to her on and off set. So it made the filming for her very difficult. She was very uncomfortable. She spent most of her time just kind of crying in Wes Craven's arms, and he had to kind of tell her it's not real. It's not real. It's okay. And she spent most of that movie him comforting her because the people who were playing these terrible people doing these things to her were so cruel to her, not just on set, but off set as well. So she had a miserable time making this
That's
movie.
not
So
nice. I didn't know that.
yeah. So that just made it even harder to kind of take. But once we get to kind of the parents' revenge stuff, which is kind
Yeah.
of what I loved about the remake, because the trailer of that trailer for the remake is infamous that it literally gave away the whole twist that the parents get revenge, and they show literally the final scene of what the father does to get
Yeah.
revenge. Yeah, in the trailer for the new one. So I knew there was, me and my comeuppance. I love a good kind of revenge, get them kind of thing. So that's why I really enjoyed the remake, but I never had gone back because I just heard how brutal it was. And it definitely was some really just tough situations. And these people are just kind of brutal. And so I had read some interesting trivia as well where Wes Craven walked out of a screening of Reservoir Dogs, and Quentin Tarantino was like so bewildered by that. And he's like, so the man who made The Last House on the Left walks out of Reservoir Dogs. And his comeback to that was, I was trying to portray the real kind of terror in real to life violence.
Yeah.
I was trying to show how brutal and terrible and awful and dehumanizing it can be. Meanwhile, he felt like Tarantino was glorifying violence and
He's not
glamorizing violence.
wrong, is he really?
So that was his comeback to Tarantino. Really, the man who made this violent movie is walking out of my violent movie. So that was kind of Tarantino's attitude. And so Wes Craven's comeback was like, I'm trying to show,
He is not wrong.
how demoralizing and terrible violence can be. You're glorifying and glamorizing it. So that
He's
was
not
kind of
wrong
Wes
at all.
Craven's comeback. So I thought it was really interesting that he
It
walked
is.
out of that movie.
It is, but it makes
And then it
it
gave
makes
me
total
more
sense.
insight. And then so once kind of hearing that, it made that movie make more, it made me kind of understand it a little bit more.
Because Last House on the Left is so brutal, it's and so purely nasty.
Yeah.
It's such a heavy message movie.
Yeah.
It is not. It's if it wasn't could you call it exploitative? Possibly.
Yeah,
Possibly.
potentially, yeah.
But it's
But
not exploitation in the sense of let's show the nastiest things possible for the sake
just
of showing the
for the sake
nastiest
of,
things
yeah, just for
possible.
the shock factor. Yeah.
So in a way it's probably not exploitation because it's just a case of what you were able to actually do now in the early 70s making movies, in America.
Yeah.
Um he's just taking advantage of that and showing the message that he wanted to show and showing the horrendous real life nature of the world at that time, which it kind of was.
Yeah.
But the fact it's a revenge movie, I don't think revenge movies are exploitation movies because they have messages of, you know, kill the bad guys,
Yeah.
messages of, get rid of the bad guys, rather than, as he would say about Tarantino, glorifying the bad
Glorifying
guys.
it.
There's
Yeah.
there's more there's more sense of exploitation with something like Reservoir Dogs when I actually think about that quote now, because you like those guys in Reservoir Dogs. You don't, you know, you, they're bad people, but you don't think they're bad people.
No, you
You
just think
don't.
they're really cool
You
and,
just think they're cool people. Oh, he's cutting off his ear. What a fun thing to
dancing a
do.
little dance while he's doing it. Yeah.
Yes, they all end up dead, sure, but there's no. That's just kind of the way the story point
Yeah,
plans out, rather
these are
than
parents who
yeah,
know that these men brutalized their daughter and killed her, and that's their driving force to make these normal kind of seeming people kind of go
yeah.
crazy and do things that they never would have expected to do out of just sheer, these people deserve to die for what they did to our child.
It's very unusual from when you're more used to what Wes Craven became as a
Yeah.
filmmaker. It's
Yeah.
very unusual to go and watch Last House on the Left and realize
Yes.
it's the
Well,
same person making it.
I'll just go into the second movie that I watched as well, just
Yeah.
because it's later in his career, which is Red Eye with Rachel McAdams and
Okay.
Killian Murphy. Um, so yeah, I'm surprised I never saw this movie. It's kind of right up my alley. I think I had seen like bits and pieces, but I'd never really just sat and watched all of it all the way through. So basically kind of like a thriller. This girl, she's like a manager of a hotel. She's managed, but she was out of town for a funeral. So she's flying back home from the funeral. Um, there's like uh some kind of important political figure who always stays at the hotel. He's always in the same room every time. And she meets Killian Murphy at the airport. He seems like a nice guy. She ends up sitting next to him on the plane, and he ends up not being this nice guy. He ends up, you know, forcing her to move this political figure to another room so that, something can be done about him.
Okay.
So he needs her as the manager to call in to approve the room change and all of that. And if she doesn't do what he wants, then he has a man like watching her father.
Oh,
Yes. Played by
okay.
Brian Cox, and he'll kill her father if she doesn't do
Is
this.
he just
So she's
every
and
quietly intense, creepy person possible? Killian Murphy and Brian Cox. I
yes,
mean, my
but
God.
Brian Cox is a good guy. He's her dad. So they're on,
Oh,
and it
that
takes
doesn't make any sense.
and it takes place on
What's
this plane.
happened there?
Yes, right? So it takes place on this plane, so, like, she can't really do anything, she can't go anywhere,
Right.
he threatens, "If I don't, I can with one word, I can tell this guy to kill your dad if you tell anybody, if you try to make a big scene on this plane." So it's very kind of tense and isolating, and, like, all the little things she tries to do to get word to somebody, and he catches her every time, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna get out of this?" So very much a tense thriller, but also he just peppers in a lot of kind of interesting character things. Um, there'll be characters who have just a bit of a moment, and you can still hear their dialogue as they're walking away, just so you kind of get a full picture of the scene. Like,
Okay.
this lady spills coffee on Rachel McAdams, and she go as she's walking away, like, we're not really focusing on her anymore, but you can hear her still talking to her husband. She's like, "I need another coffee." He's like, "You drank it all already?" And she's like, "No, this lady over here is wearing it." Like, you just hear this kind of commentary happening in the background. So the fact that he's just really trying to give this realism to this scene and flesh it out and, make you feel like you're in kind of a familiar environment only for this kind of crazy kind of situation to happen.
I would not
Um,
want that to happen on a plane either. If somebody
yeah.
spilt a drink on me on a plane, I would
Well,
be
it wasn't on a plane,
furious.
it was before she got on the plane, but
Oh,
still,
okay.
yes. So, and then also just kind of like him being very charming and she's kind of intrigued, and then it kind of takes this turn. And then yeah, just the tension of her trying to figure out ways to warn somebody, but she can't. And so very much a great kind of tense movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very much of its era, kind of, um
When is it? I assume mid
I think
2000s.
I think it's 2005, I
Yeah,
wanna
I
say.
assumed it was around then
So,
because
yeah, a little bit kind of,
sure,
silly kind of
sure.
execution of
Yes.
these killers who wanna kill the dude the political figure or whatever. They're trying to shoot a bazooka at his hotel
Of
room,
course they are.
and, just kind of silly things like that. But, in terms of the tension and the performances and the electricity between these 2 characters, it's really much like, how is she gonna get out of the situation? What is she gonna do? Oh my gosh, and just kind of the the claustrophobic nature of being on a plane and then this elevated situation. So while this could have been, I think, a much cornier movie in other hands, Wes Craven's direction really kind of elevates it a little bit and makes it feel a little bit more real in parts, and makes it a little more interesting. So, yeah, I enjoyed Red Eye, and
Okay.
I enjoyed
You
last
didn't
how
enjoy
the
Last Absolute
I didn't
Gift.
enjoy it, but I could understand it a little bit more kind of
You
in
appreciated it.
yes, I appreciated it for, the first film he wrote, he directed it, what he was in kind of knowing what he was trying to say. I understood him a little bit more as a filmmaker and really found it interesting the evolution his career went, and just kind of remembering, that he kind of had notable things in like 3 major decades in horror. And if you go into, his final film, you know, the
Oh,
final
yeah.
Scream movie, and he did movies well into the 2000s as well, but like just kind of having defining
Yeah,
styles of horror
real defining, yeah.
in 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like,
It is very, interesting to think about Wes Craven really as arguably the most, or the major horror director that was able to adapt the most to
yeah,
the era he was
that he was
making
in.
movies in.
Yeah.
And one who, like you said, defined many eras. Brutal 70s grimy horror movies. You've got 2 of them from him. Last House on the Left and The Hills of Eyes.
Yeah.
Great examples. F
High
kind of
concept,
kind of
high concept, creating this kind of memorable villain,
yeah,
killer, slasher, you know?
yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Um, meta, fun, kind of late 90s teen slasher. He's got the best one of them
Yeah.
in Scream. Even early 90s social horror.
Yeah.
You could make an argument of to which movie's better, that or Candyman. People Under the Stairs.
Yeah.
That's why I think they're such a great double feature. He was a genius horror filmmaker.
Yeah. He
He
had
was.
something to say, he had a clear vision,
He's
and then he
completely different to
yes.
Cronenberg, who knows what he wants to make and basically keeps making the same kind of thing,
Yes.
in just in slightly different ways.
But
He's just very,
even
very good at it.
you go through his filmography and then you see this, violin teacher movie,
No,
Music
right.
of the Heart with
Yeah,
Meryl Streep. Like, what?
right.
It's
Makes
very
no
much a
sense.
yes. It's very much a George Miller credit on his
Yeah. It makes no sense whatsoever.
yes, but I love that. I love that he directed that movie. It's
Um,
great.
but you are
Yes.
entirely right in that. And you know, I think I'm right when I say Cronenberg finds his style and sticks with it, and it has kept
Definitely.
sticking with it. I mean, even some of his more recent movies, they haven't been necessarily gory body horror, have they? But they've still been about kind of breaking of human spirit.
Yeah. Well, what was
And
the new one you watched?
I think, oh yes, the new one for me was Scanners. I'd never seen Scanners
Okay,
before.
I haven't
Scanners
seen
from
it. I just
1981.
know that one saying.
Yeah, that if you haven't seen Scanners, and I hadn't seen Scanners either since, you know, before last night, as of this recording,
Yeah.
you just know it as the one where the head explodes in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the movie where the head explodes in the auditorium.
Hmm.
It is. I don't think I like it as much as
The other
The
ones.
Fly, The Brood, and Videodrome, which are the other movies of Cronenberg that I have seen. I haven't seen any others. These are the 4 that I have seen now. I did like it though.
Okay.
It's again, you're getting the concept of it's almost kind of a master race situation
Oh,
with the scanners themselves. Basically, the whole idea is that a scientist finds an unknown scanner, because all the scanners are registered kind of people. Like, here is a scanner. There's about 230 scanners in the world,
yeah.
and all of them are kind of registered supposedly by this not nameless, but by this kind of corporation,
Yeah.
scientific corporation, who seem to be bigger than big, you know.
Yeah.
So one of the scientists working there is Patrick McGoohan, who's always nice and turns up
Magoo.
who turns up in old British folk horror. I think Patrick McGoohan is in Blood on Satan's Claw, which is a good movie from the early 70s. Alongside things like Witchfinder General, Blood on Satan's
Okay.
Claw is a good
You and your rich finder
a good
general.
good double feature with Witchfinder General. Patrick McGoohan. I think Patrick McGoohan's in that. But he's in Scanners as well. And he's our British leading man, who's actually the supporting role, but he's the biggest name in the movie.
Okay.
Again, similar to the Brood in that way, but he finds a unregistered scanner, a particularly powerful unregistered scanner, because there's a particularly dangerous scanner out there who's going, you know, kind of getting this idea of, it's almost a Magneto idea of, we are the future, not them.
Yeah. We're in the future, Charles, not them.
It's kind of exactly that. Our villain in this, our villain or I should say, who we think of our villain is in this movie, depending on who you believe. It is kind of a Magneto situation. Is very much Magneto-like. That's Michael Ironside.
Oh, okay.
Strangely enough, Michael Ironside's in a movie, and he's the villain. What a
Villain.
surprise!
Yeah, I know. It's the theme today.
But he's pretty good in the movie. He's very
Okay.
determined. Very, he brings the egotism, the intensity that you would assume Michael Ironside would bring.
Mhm.
But he is the one going, I am a powerful scanner. Scanners are the next stage of
Evolution.
being.
No.
Not necessarily evolution, because they're kind of manufactured.
You just have me thinking about X-Men now.
No, I know. But we come to learn that scanners have been manufactured,
Oh,
and not in the way that the scanners themselves thought they were. So
okay.
there's all secrets going on. There's all
Twisty
kind of,
turnies happening.
there's twisty turnies happening. There is the opposite of self-assuredness. They're all really unsure of exactly who they are, exactly why they are scanners. But they're all humans. They're just able, and scanning is basically powerful telekinesis.
Okay.
So it can be reading people's minds, it can be merging together a group's thoughts, and it can also be exploding people
Okay.
if you do it intensely enough, like Michael Ironside does in the most famous scene of that movie, when he just kind of really focuses, and you get this really very, very annoying high-pitched tinnitus noise as well whenever somebody really intensely scans, that I literally had to turn the volume down on the TV. It was so loud. It was
You thought
really,
your head was gonna
really,
explode.
really, really uncomfortable high-pitched ring
Yeah.
that's just constant. But builds you up
Yeah.
to feel as you would expect to feel if you were being scammed.
Yeah.
Because you kind of your heart rate goes up, or somebody who's being scanned, their heart rate goes up. It can get really, really intense, and this is why this science corporation has to control the scanners, or teach the scanners to control themselves, because they don't want them becoming dangerous. And this is
Yeah.
Patrick McGowan who's doing this, who finds this other scanner, who's our lead kind of guy, who's trying to figure out who exactly he is.
Yeah.
And he's sent on this mission to try and destroy Michael Ironside, but Michael Ironside's incredibly powerful as a scanner, and it's tough in that sense. But when certain reveals happen, and I think this is a movie that you don't want to know the reveals of before you see it.
Ooh, okay.
It's really, really interesting. But if you do think of it as like Michael Ironside is a Magneto figure in this movie, I
Okay.
feel that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And I
At it.
think it was
Okay.
obvious. It was obvious to me that that's how he was presented in this movie. But again, it is Cronenberg very much speaking to dehumanization,
Okay.
very much speaking to the kind of unnaturalness of certain things that humans do to themselves.
Okay.
And, humans in their natural state are good. And once they try and get out of that, once they develop out of that in
Yeah.
however it may be, turn, try and play God, as in Seth Brundle, try and create brood murderous
More than you
children,
should.
as in
Yeah.
that movie, or in this
Yeah.
movie, try and become a powerful telekinetic, then it's
gonna bite you.
that's what's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's really quite scary as well. I'd say it's more of a sci-fi movie,
Okay.
but it's certainly a sci-fi horror. There's certainly gore in this movie.
Oh yeah. Well,
There's
everything.
yeah.
That's why everyone knows that head blowing up scene so well.
There's real terror to the movie.
Okay.
There's real terror to the movie. I did enjoy it. I'd probably have to sit with it slightly longer to appreciate it fully, but when movies make you want to do that, you feel like they've done a job.
Yeah.
So forgive me for waffling a little bit
Oh,
too
no,
long,
no,
as
no.
we've not ended up with a shorter show now, unfortunately.
Well, we just get to talking. That's what this show's
We
about. It's
do.
just, you like to go with where we meander. We just like to go with it.
We do. But yeah, Scanners. Watched Scanners for the
Nice.
first time, which was very fun. It was very fun.
Yay. Yeah, it's fun watching a new movie from a director you feel like you kind of know pretty well,
Yeah.
Like I thought,
And
oh yeah, I'm well versed with Wes Craven, and then I'm like, I've not seen The Hills Have Eyes. I've not seen
that's what I
Last House
like.
on the Left. Oh
That's
my
what I like to do with
gosh.
my Halloween seasons.
Yeah. Mhm.
I like to watch fairly notable movies that I haven't watched before, rather
Yeah.
than the old favorites. I'll watch some of the old favorites, but I will watch a good few new movies again, new horror
Yeah.
movies again.
Yeah, that's great.
Of which this was the first one of the. Well, I suppose not, because last week's Morgan hasn't seen, but the first older, real kind of seminal horror movie, which
Yeah.
you feel like it kind of holds that place.
Yes.
So I'm happy to have
Nice.
watched Scanners now. Anyway, Anyway, Jeannine, let us finish the episode, as we always like to do, with a little bit of fun and games, because we do have a quote game today.
Yes.
Quotes from our chosen directors' movies, don't we?
Yes, we do.
I think we have 5 each.
Yes, which
And
I feel like mine are going to be so much easier than yours, considering I think I know maybe like 5 Cronenberg movies. So if it's not one of the ones I potentially know, and some of them are
I
ones
think it
that
will be.
you just mentioned today. So,
Well, yes. Well, you usually win, so if I win this quote game, then it'll be satisfying for me, won't it?
yes, I'm
But
sure.
we have 5 quotes each from one of our chosen directors' movies. Would you like to go first, as you always like to do?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
First quote. Which movie is it from? Long live the new flesh.
I'm going to go with The Brood.
It's Videodrome. It's the famous quote from Videodrome. Yeah.
I am aware that he made that movie. I'm aware that that's where Video Drew got her name, but I've never seen it.
It is. It's the quote from Videodrome, really.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Welcome to Prime. That's a Scream movie, but which Scream movie? Is that a Scream movie? Welcome. Oh, I don't know. Scream 2. Is it Scream 2? It's not Scream 2, is it?
No, this is actually probably one of the most famous lines from this franchise, and the one and only line Robert Englund ever ad-libbed from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors.
Oh, it's Dream Warriors.
When
God,
he
it's
picks
been
up the
years.
girl and smashes her in the TV, he says
Yeah.
it's prime time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's been years and years since I've watched Dream
Yeah.
Warriors. This is bad. This is gonna go well. Okay, well, you might get this. They're the children of her rage.
Brood.
That's from The Brood.
Okay. How can there be room on your joint for 4 letters?
How can there be room? Oh God, these abstract quotes. That's Scream. I'm just gonna guess Scream. That's not Scream. How can there be room on your joint for 4 letters? People get high in Scream. Scream 2.
A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is it?
Yes. When she says joint, she's talking about
Well, that yes.
not
Oh, okay. Why don't I know Nightmare? If you'd
Yeah,
have said this
apparently
is
not.
God, I'd have
I
got that.
think I think you need to probably do this Nightmare on
Possibly,
Elm
yeah.
Street watch with me.
Possibly. Not good with quotes, Jeannine. I mean, you might know this. The ice is gonna break. Although if you're not familiar with the movie. Perhaps if I do a little bit of an impression. No, I can't do an impression. I'm not very good.
The ice is gonna break.
The ice is gonna break. It's a little bit of an impression.
The Fly?
Oh, it's the Dead Zone. Christopher Walken says, "The ice is gonna break," and he shouts it.
Okay, now I'm hearing it. Damn it.
Yes, that's the Dead Zone.
Yeah.
Stephen King's The Dead Zone.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should kill before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Well, that's the prayer. that's the that's and that's the prayer that people say.
But I don't think they say if I should
No, they don't say
kill
kill. If I should
before I
kill. Um. Oh, that might be People Under the Stairs. Is that People Under the Stairs?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that comes from the girl, the girl from People Under the Stairs.
I don't know. It just was like quotes from
Okay,
stairs because I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm like, I don't remember who says it.
might be. I don't know.
I should have just given you 1, 2. Freddy's coming for you.
You
What
should.
movie is that
I'd
from?
know that. I'd know
but,
that one.
but technically, it's in like
Yeah.
several movies.
No, it's Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Oh dear. I've often thought there should be beauty contests for the insides of bodies. I nearly watched this movie as well, and I might watch this movie before this season is over for the first time.
Oh man, well, I was gonna say Scanners, but now that you're doing all this commentary,
Oh
now
yeah,
I know
sorry.
it's-
I've often thought there should be beauty contests for the insides of bodies. Which is a horrible thing to say.
Yeah. The only other movie of his I know that is not mentioned is A History of Violence. I don't think that's it.
No, it isn't. It's from Dead Ringers.
See, I don't even
From
know what that is.
1988. Jeremy Irons plays twins.
Oh.
Twin gynecologists. One of them's confident and one of them's not, and there's murder. And seemingly they're insane because they talk about beauty contests for the insides of
I'm
bodies.
feeling like all his leading men all have like the same weird energy.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like what
kinda
James
do.
Woods was Videodrome, right?
Yes.
And
Christopher
then Jeff
Goldblum,
Walken, Irons.
Jeremy Irons.
Like they all have a very unique weirdness about
This is
them.
yeah. And that's throughout the 80s. That's
Yeah.
very much 80s.
Mhm.
It's all 80s. Okay. Oh, yeah, that was Dead Ringers.
Yeah,
I like
no
that
idea what
quote though.
is.
That's a really
Yeah.
unsettling quote.
Don't fuck with the original.
Which one is it from? Oh no. Oh, is it from Scream 4?
Yes.
Yes, it's from Scream 4.
Damn it.
My last one.
Okay.
I've come here to say one magic word to you. Cheeseburger.
What?
Who would say such a thing? I've come to you to say one magic word to you. Cheeseburger.
The Fly.
It is The Fly, and it's definitely Goldblum.
Yes, Jeff Goldblum. Very much. All right, final one.
So is that the one you've got?
Yeah, no, I got 2. I got
Did
the
you get-
Broods one.
Oh, you did get the Brood one, so that's 2 for you. What am I on? I got Scream 4.
You got 2 as well.
Oh, Morgan
So
could win
all
it.
down to this. Okay, so this is a question answer quote. So one character asks, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And the reply is, "My life."
Oh. Scream 2.
Yes, it's Scream 3.
No. No.
When Sydney asked that cop Kincaid,
Oh.
and his corny response is, "My life."
Oh no. It's a tie. It's a draw.
I know. Well, that's a win for me because you were so close because I saw your mouth go. Like you were gonna say 3.
I was going to say 3. Oh no.
A tie
Oh,
for
for
me is a
God's
win
sake.
because I was like, he's gonna get it, and then you said 2. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, Jeannine, we've had fun
We
on today's
did.
episode. We always have
We
fun
do.
on episodes of Monday Madness. Tonal shifts aplenty on the
Tangents
episodes,
plenty as well.
but always a lot of fun. Forgive my voice today as well. I really hope I'll admit to you, my throat's in a lot of pain right now
Oh
at the end of this.
no! I
It's
think the
kind of hurting me a lot,
walk-in did it.
possibly. Thank you everyone for listening and watching another episode of Monday Madness. We always have a blast here. It is not the only thing we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed, nor is it the only thing we have on this YouTube channel, though. On this YouTube channel that you can subscribe to, ding your notification bells on for all the fun stuff we have here. There's watch-alongs, there's live discussions, there's movie collection videos, there's reviews, there's trailer reactions, and there is this every single Monday full video glory format of Monday Madness every single week on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. The podcast feed, though, where we mainly live, it has to be said, you can find this show in audio format, as well as Morgan Hasn't Seen, every Wednesday, where we are talking horror comedies all throughout September. The main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast, every Friday, where we show love to older movies, we discover new older movies, we celebrate them. It's always a fun time on there as well. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have you covered on the It's a Wonderful Podcast feed on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Amazon Music, and everywhere else. Jeannine, if people want to support us, what can they do?
They can find us on Patreon. It's a Wonderful Podcast on patreon.com. We have some fun tiers over there. You get monthly artwork. You can vote in polls like the Nightmare on Elm Street poll I mentioned. I do some fun little videos kind of giving a breakdown of some of my artwork, early access to some of the videos that we have on the channel, all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, find us on Patreon. It's a Wonderful Podcast, and find the tier that's right for you.
Yes, there is also a donation link in the description if you would like to support us that way as well. Links to everything in the description. Of course, it's all been scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you are watching the episode, but we are on social medias as well, of course. Twitter at It's a Wonderful One for the show. I am on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E in there because, Jeannine,
3 is the magic number.
on Instagram at just the Purple Don. All your horror loving stuff is where.
You can find me at Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, you can find that at our Teespring shop. Just search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. You can also see the link scrolling by if you are watching on the YouTubes. We have a lot of fun designs over there of all of our shows. We also have some fun Stranger Things designs there, so check out our merch. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, as I'm an artist, you can find it at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
There we go. Horror directors, new discoveries, whole bunch of Disney craziness. We'll get into the rest of D23 next week. Don't you worry about that. And also, because the new King of England actually gets to choose his name, he doesn't actually have to go by Charles. Maybe we'll get King Aegon the Conqueror. I hope we do. I really hope we do. I think that would be so hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. There's only one thing left to do. I think, Jeannine, would you like to do it in some sort of fun Disney impression? Maybe Mickey Mouse?
I think I do a better Goofy, but...
Oh, you do a good Goofy. That's a good point. A very good Goofy.
I don't know if I can... Okay. 3! 2! Yep.
I am laughing, yes.
Yep. What?
Bye.